Howdy folks, and welcome to another edition of Ionan's Edge. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Benchmade Mini Presidio II CF Elite Black Series. So I've been carrying this knife and using this knife now for a little over 2 weeks, and I really do enjoy this knife a lot. I'm going to jump in with some basic specs on it. So this knife uses S30V crucible steel. We got a drop point design that's almost a spear point, but not quite. So a nice blade design there. It comes in bead blasted satin finish. I love this finish. This might be my favorite blade finish out of all the Benchmade finishes I've seen. I just think it looks fantastic, especially on a knife like this. That's a tactical knife. And has this particular look that it has. So the bead blasted satin, really nice. It uses stainless liners. The rest of the hardware is all stainless, the liners. And everything here is blacked out, including the finishing on the spacers. Hollowed out there inside for weight. And it uses Benchmade's new CF Elite carbon fiber scales. So I love these because this is not just a carbon fiber weave that lets you know that it's made out of carbon fiber. It's actually a molded carbon fiber, which is great, and it has this texturing on it, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So this is a new thing for them. This is one of the improvements for this knife over the original Presidio series, which, by the way, was designed by Mel Pardue. A lot of his knives are really solid designs, and this is the same basic design as its predecessor, the Presidio. So let's talk a little bit about weight. The knife weighed in at 3.15 ounces. I got to tell you, folks, this sucker is light. It's very light, but not in a bad way. You just don't really realize that this knife is in your pocket with only weighing about 3 ounces. So the blade surface, I'm going to bring out a mat here real quick. The blade surface on this knife, the actual blade cutting surface, is almost exactly 3 inches. You're talking 3.5 to the pivot, and the overall length of this knife from tip to tail is 7 3/8. So this is not a big knife. I actually would call this knife a medium. It is a manually opening knife. So I want to point out too that it came right out of the box like this. Flips open easy, literally falls closed, smooth as silk. It's riding on phosphor bronze bushings. That's because it's a tactical knife. So that's so that, if you take it out where it's going to get dirt or sand or grit or anything like that in there, that's going to hold up better over time than caged ball bearings. So I think that's why they probably did that. They do consider this a tactical series knife. So what I like. So even though they call this a mini, I consider this knife to be a medium, because I feel like that's what it is. I've mentioned before, for me to consider a knife kind of a full-size carry knife, I want to be able to get all my fingers on this knife and have some room on the back. And I do if I'm in hammer grip. The rest of the grips are really nice. There's plenty of room here to get your hand on the knife and choke up if you need to on the blade. Again, the blade finish, this bead blasted satin, it's gorgeous. I mean, for a work knife or a tactical knife, I really feel like this is the way to go. This is probably my favorite finish that they put on. Some people like the coatings, the black coatings or the gray coatings. I think if you got a knife that doesn't need to be coated, this is a fantastic finish for it. Like I said, the action when it came out of the box is flawless. I cannot say enough about the texturing on this carbon fiber Elite. These scales, the texturing is perfect. I mean, it is absolutely spot on. The engagement on these scales is perfect. You can get grip everywhere. All the little micro pebbling they put in between these is absolutely phenomenal. You can feel it. It's not rough or abrasive, but it's super positive engagement. I would have no problem if this knife was wet holding on to it whatsoever. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Like I said, the action out of the box was perfect. The scales are great. The jimping's in the right places. So they jimped the frame, and you can see the finish work. They matched it all up really nice. Boom. With the actual scales. And it's just perfect. It's not too aggressive. It's not too sharp. It's got just the right purpose and feel right there. When you grab onto this knife, you can feel that engagement between these two fingers perfectly. It fits in your hand really nice, regardless of which hand position you have. And then obviously the access lock, boom, you just pull it up and this knife falls closed like nobody's business. So again, workmanship, fit and finish on the knife, great, perfect. The jimping's in the right place. I've been doing a lot of cutting and slicing with this. I just cut up a whole bunch of cardboard to go to the dump. Whittled away on some 2x4s to make some campfire type shavings, cut some tie wraps with it, opened a few Amazon boxes, used it for a little project I was doing out in the front yard, and the edge is still razor sharp, just like it came out of the box. No issues with cutting. You can't even tell there's no marks on this blade from where I cut anything with it. So that is all positive. So let's talk about the cons or the nitpicks. And honestly, they are very small and very, very few. So one con I have, even though they gave you a nice deep carry pocket clip, once again, button head screws. So this clip is kind of thick. You could see it's got some girth to it here, and it doesn't impede the way you hold the knife. It's back here far enough in your hand that you don't feel it. And I love this. I love what they did. They made it come up and then kind of bevel down. And so the only this little tiny bit of the knife is going to stick out of your pocket. So no issues there. It is reversible, by the way. If you're a lefty, you can move the clip to the left side. But again, button head screws. And if you're somebody who wears really thick pants or sticks this in your pocket, maybe you got some hunting thermals on for, deer or turkey season or something like that, or you're out bow hunting, whatever, and you're wearing some thermals. If you got some heavier clothes on, that does kind of take away a little bit from getting the knife in and out easier. I don't think it will impede the use of the knife at all, but again, I always wonder why they just don't spend a little bit of extra time and, bevel the holes and then use a countersunk screw there so that you get a little bit more space. But again, everything on the knife is perfect. The fit and finish is great. The scales are great, right? All that is really good. So my only other nitpick on the knife is, and this is more of a personal thing than an issue with the craftsmanship or design. Since this is a Black Series knife, I might have liked to have seen them give you a bead blasted satin clip instead of an all black clip. No matter how good quality these clips are, over the course of time, this black finish tends to wear off. I think if they'd gone with a satin bead blasted clip here, it would have still looked really nice, and it would have just never had any wear look to the knife at all. And again, that doesn't affect the function, but it is just a small thing. It's more of a personal preference for me. I might have liked to have seen what this knife was like with a bead blasted satin silver finished clip instead of a black powder coated one or parkerized. So let's summarize here. The knife is really well balanced, by the way. It just sets right there in your hand. It's not blade heavy. It's got a perfect balance right there in the middle, right where you put your hands. So it feels great. They did a good job marrying the lightweight features of the knife versus balance. So I give them a 10 out of 10 for that. Again, perfectly executed design. The scales and the texturing of these scales is spot on. And this may be in a what I call a medium-sized knife, because I don't really consider this a mini-sized knife. knife, and I'll show you some comparisons here in just a moment. This may be my new favorite knife in this size range. Honestly, I can't think of any other knives that I own that are this size that I would rather carry than this knife. So good quality steel, S30V, new CF Elite carbon fiber scales, good balance. I like the fact that they didn't go a lot of scalloping. You can turn this knife around. It feels just as comfortable in a reverse position for whittling or heavy cutting as it does in a normal forward grip. And like I said, it's probably my new favorite in this size range. So cost-wise, $125 to about $130 seems to be about the going street price. You may find it a little cheaper than that, but that seems to be right about where it belongs. It does come in a standard Black Series box. You get the typical carrying case that comes with Benchmades like this. You get one of these bad boys in the box with it, along with your warranty paperwork. Again, it is a Black Series knife, not a standard Blue Series. And I'm going to consider probably picking up at some point in the near future a full-size version of the Presidio II. And I have seen them. I have held one. They are definitely bigger. But I think that is going to be in the future. So real quick, let's pull in the size chart again here. And let's give you some size comparisons to some other knives. So let's put this one down here. Here we go. Got this lined up here. Just under 7.5, about 7 3/8. Okay, so you can see that. Let's show you an actual Benchmade Mini Series knife. This is from pivot to pivot. This is the Mini Griptilian. You can see that's quite a bit smaller. A lot less blade surface, a lot less grip surface. Again, the Mini Griptilian, one of my favorite compact size everyday carries. I love this knife, carried this knife a lot too, but there you go for size. Here's the Mini Boost, which I also consider kind of a medium size knife. And we'll do that one. So there you go. Similar, almost the same cutting surface, but definitely less grip surface. All right, that's the Mini Boost. Now I'm going to show you it next to the ZT 0770 carbon fiber. So again, these knives are the same general weight, right around 3 ounces. You can see the grip is longer and the blade is about the same length, pretty close to the ZT knife. And again, this knife here, a little better steel, but this knife here is a $200 knife. It has carbon fiber, but it's really more for the weight savings and the shape. It's not textured at all. So even though I really like this knife, that's just a good size comparison. And then we're going to show you a full-size Griptilian, which I consider to be a pretty full-size knife, not a large, but a full-size knife. So here it is next to the Griptilian, full-size. You can see why I call this a medium, because that's a full-size Griptilian, which has a pretty big handle and scales and a pretty good size cutting blade on it. And this knife is very close to that. So again, it kind of bridges that gap between a compact pocket carry and a full-size pocket carry. So there you have it. So again, once again, Benchmade's Mini Presidio II CF Elite Black Series. Check it out if you get a chance, folks. Highly recommend this knife. And at some point in the future, I can definitely see a full-size Presidio II in my collection, because this knife so far, after just a couple of weeks, has been fantastic. So there you have it, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Also, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment if you enjoyed it. I always like hearing from folks. And once again, thanks for watching and stay sharp.